I do this because I want to help people. There are certain people in here that only know certain names and they just like, all right, I'm going to pick them to win it all. I'm like, guys, this is me trying to help you. So please help these people out. What are some really big names that you see on this bracket that you do not see making it very far? What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Social Club where everyone has a voice. I'm your host, Jacob Hale. And real quick, guys, go ahead, subscribe, comment your thoughts down below. Listen, it is March Madness season, baby. The greatest time to be an athlete, the greatest time to enjoy sports because you already know it's all about the madness. So before we get through, you already know what this video is about. But real quick, man, I got to know, who do you think is going to win it all? Please comment that down below. But other than that, man, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Of course, check out all of our other content because we post a lot of content. And we're going to keep posting a lot of content. But for this episode, I did one of these last year, and you guys should go check that out because people thought I was crazy, and I was pretty spot on in what I thought about these teams. But, I wanted to do something really special for this March Madness. Usually I bring the guys in, we talk who we think and all that stuff, but I actually went out and I wanted to see if there's a viewer or a guest out there that wanted to jump on the platform and share his March Madness takes with me as well. So I want to introduce you to a very special guy, probably the biggest ball knower I've met in St. Louis. He's a great guy. He's the owner of Chuck's Hot Chicken, by the way, so go ahead and check that out. I'll put a little link to their Instagram down below, but with that being said, man, I want to introduce Mr. Chuck himself. How's everything going,
yes,
man?
Sir. Doing good, man. Yeah, hey, my friends call me Drew, so feel free to call me that. Yeah, man, it's so good to be here, man. I really appreciate it. We met, obviously, at the SLU basketball game. It was an electric night at Shea Fitz, and we were able to link up, and I'm so glad you brought me on, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
We'll get right to it here with this March Madness. Now, I feel like every March Madness is its own identity. Obviously, there's always familiar faces, familiar teams, everything like that. But I think I want to start this with talking about the first seeds, and I just want to get your overall thoughts. Like, what do you make of these first seeds? Do you think that they're legit? Do you think that there's some holes here? Like, what are your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's real simple, man. There's two that are legit and two that are not. And to me, that is Duke and Arizona are the legit ones. And like, when you told me to fill out a bracket, I wanted to fill it out assuming all these guys were going to be healthy. But it seems like Big Pat and Foster. Looks like Foster will be back potentially for the Final Four. Big Pat, Sweet 16. So that's what I kind of baked in there. Those two teams are legit. Michigan and Florida, to me, have no chance of winning a national championship.
I actually kind of agree with that. And part of the reason why, when I always look at brackets, I always like to look at like who's in the region and kind of everything that they have going on. Now, everyone on the, ESPN and stuff, all they want to talk about is the East region. They're like, oh, this is the hardest thing. I'm like, listen, maybe by names, but in my opinion, in terms of like real competition and talent and level of play and stuff, I just don't think that's the hardest region. I kind of think it's pretty straightforward, hinting at where I'm going to go with the bracket on that one. But yeah, I agree. Michigan, at the beginning, I really thought Michigan was legit, but I see a lot of vulnerabilities in that team, and particularly when you talk about the three-point shooting, I don't think it's there, man. And that gets so important down the stretch. If offensively you can't keep up, man, you can get exposed real quick, and it looks bad. So, Florida,
I agree.
I don't know. Florida's a tough one because I do agree with that sentiment, but I also think that region is pretty trash. I don't think they're going to go through a lot of competition on their way trying to make it out of that region. But before we get to that, because we talked about the big names here, I want to talk about the Cinderella teams because that's what everyone cares about. So help these people figure out here. Who are the underrated teams in this bracket that you see right now? You want to give some shine to them real quick.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've got a few, and my first one here is kind of late because of how they performed in the conference tournament, be it the SEC. Arkansas. I mean, they're kind of coming up onto the radar now, but when I saw your bracket, I saw you had them winning the whole thing. The first thing I thought is this guy must be a Darius Acuff Jr. guy, because I think that dude is the best player in the draft, and I don't even know if it's even close. He looks like Allen Iverson out there. I mean, he really has a unbelievable game. He's so composed. He is always under control, and you've seen him in the biggest moments, man. Just rise to the occasion, and he's just got that stone cold killer about him. And I think he's just one of those guards that's just going to have his March moment. So they're one, and obviously they've got Brazil, and they've got Billy Richmond, who's playing unbelievable. Like, they've got talent. They can get a little disorganized, but I think ultimately they're a team that's gonna, that's kind of right now being underrated, along with the team they just played, Vandy. Now you got Duke Miles back. He's incredible, and Tanner's playing great. And this is the thing, just like going back to the Michigan thing, if I may just touch on that for a second. Like, I just believe that you got to have good guards to win this tournament. And you got to have two specifically elite guards that can go out and get you a bucket when everything else breaks down. When the set breaks down, when things are getting hectic, you're in this weird neutral court. That's ultimately what differentiates. And I don't think Michigan or Florida has that. Like, is Boogie Fland and Xavier Lee gonna be the two guards that lead them to? You don't have Walter Clayton. You don't have, Richard. You don't have Martin. Those guys, that's a trio of three guards that I think you need. So going back to Vandy, and you'll see that as a consistent with the teams that I'm talking about, is that's one of the things I look for. Wisconsin is another one where, Boyd and Blackwell, those two guards, I mean, those guys are both averaging almost 20 points a game. Those guys are incredible. And I think that's a team that, they got serviceable bigs. They've had some really big wins this season. I think they can come in and if you can get them at a good number, they could potentially be a team that could get to the Final Four for sure. And one more I got for you is South Florida. I don't know if you caught that game yesterday. Hey, they've got some dogs, man. They've got some guys that can flat out play. That Isaiah Nelson, he's like 6'10", 225. He's like a mini Oscar Tshiebwe. He's just very, very built and long, and he runs the floor real well. And he's just a terror, man. And they've got two guards. Wes Ennis, I know is a big time player. That's a team that, like, if Mikel Brown Jr. is out, and that there's a lot of speculation on that right now, South Florida's a team that can make a little bit of a run. So that's just a few off the top in terms of underrated.
Oh, I like it, and I like where your head's at with it too. Yeah, guards. I feel like guards and everything. Guards and like a little bit of defense will take you pretty far. That's what I've seen, man. And I don't like to get sucked in that trap of trying to pick certain teams that play elite defense or have this amazing big, right? And then, you get in the game, they clog up the hole, and then they got, you think it's elite defense, and then someone goes for 30 on them, then you realize they can't score, So I try not to pick teams that have attributes like that. And it would make more sense, of course, once we get to the real bracket. But going over my underrated teams, I must be the biggest Atlantic 10 fan because I have two teams in the Atlantic 10
Nice.
that I want to spotlight here. Number one is, of course, St. Louis. And I get it. I'm going to come off as biased because I've been to the games. Listen, I understand. Yeah, like whatever. We've been to the games. We get it, guys. But no, in all honesty, I mean, for what you want to see in a small team that has a good chance of making a run, that's what St. Louis really has. Not it's a high-powered offense. Their three-point shooting is elite. Elite. I feel like every single person on that team can go off from the three. It really does feel that way. And just on the defensive side, they might not have the length that you're exactly looking for, but the ferocity is definitely there. They play very hard. They rush to the ball. They make it difficult, and it does show. And the biggest thing about St. Louis that I really enjoy and I really try to look for in teams like this is that they are for sure battle tested. There's plenty of games where they have had pretty bad first halves, but they've really picked it up into the second half and found a way to win by any means necessary. I get very afraid because they're not the best rebounding team. But again, this team, they're just so dangerous from the three. They just found a way every time. Like right when you think it's almost over, you got Robbie Avila, getting back-to-back three-pointers for you real quick, which, by the way, that's probably my first shout-out here. Go ahead and write that name down. Robbie Avila, man. He is straight dog. Straight dog. I mean, he's going to be a big man nightmare for people for sure. My second Atlantic 10 team would be VCU. Again, that is the team I did go see, so I understand, guys. But, they actually surprised me. They also are pretty lethal from the three. What they do better than St. Louis that I do recognize is that their rebounding in their length on the floor is actually very underrated. I think that's going to serve them very well. And again, just the ability to get those second chance shots. I mean, that's going to do wonders for you in the tournament for sure. And their defense is also there. They definitely hustle on defense. I don't know if I would say their defense is up there with St. Louis, but it's serviceable. And that's really all you need. You just don't need it to be like, you don't need it to be like me out there trying to guard people. All right. You just need guys running to the ball, hustling and all that stuff, and that'll get you pretty far. Two more teams that I find pretty interesting. I am very interested in this Santa Clara team. And I think the problem is everyone always considers it's Gonzaga or no one else. But that is a great conference. Like, they play good ball out there. I think Santa Clara is another team that if they can get hot and wear their position in the tournament, they could go on a little streaky run. And when I say streaky run, teams that can make it to that second weekend. I do think they have a solid chance, just what I'm seeing off the bracket with them. And then my last team is Mizzou, which, of course, Mizzou, baby. Shout out to my co-host, Garth, huge Mizzou fan. I got to show Mizzou some love. He told me I could not record this video without showing Mizzou love. Not a lot of people talk to them because there's way more interesting teams in the SEC to talk about, but is a big and bad team. They like to bully you around. They play great defense. They're going to put hands on your head into the rim. That's for sure. They're going to do a lot. So again, it's one of those teams where it's like you get a good matchup with them. It's still SEC talented players, so they can go on a great run, make it to that second weekend. And once you make it to the second weekend, anything's possible, honestly.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, I think Mizzou, especially teams got to be crying based on the fact that they drew that St. Louis bracket, and I hope you're able to go to that game because we'll be down there, but that's the late game too. So that's going to be crazy. I don't imagine Miami travels very well. That's just me. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just don't see it. So yeah, I mean, a team like Mizzou, I always said, like, they're good enough, like you said, they're big and they can get after you a little bit. If you can't handle Mitchell, he can be kind of weird to guard, but they can rip off 2 games in this tournament for sure. And I think this year, just going over the bracket, I mean, I think we're I think we're about to see one of the best second rounds, like round of 32, um, that we've seen in a long time. I mean, it's like I'm looking, and it's like a lot of these could be very, very close games, especially coming down the stretch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I would say I thank the Lord. I thank the man above for the booster that paid the committee to give Mizzou virtually 2 home games. Because that's absolutely insane. Enterprise is going to be packed with Mizzou fans.
Oh, yeah.
Like it is going to be loaded in there. So they get the stars aligned for them to at least make it to that second weekend. I'm just hoping they just don't shit the bed, essentially. Like just there's just some teams that you see in this bracket. It's like, all right, just don't mess it up, and you're good. Like you got a lot going for you. This is a good poll, right? Just real quick before we go through the full bracket, I am curious on some of the overrated teams. Again, I do this because I want to help people. There are certain people in here that only know certain names, and they just like, all right, I'm going to pick them to win it all. I'm like, guys, this is me trying to help you. So please help these people out. What are some really big names that you see on this bracket that you do not see making it very far? Now, when I say making it very far, I'm letting you do your choice here. You can say they don't make it first weekend. You can just say they don't make it into the Elite Eight.
I think Kansas is a disaster, and that's just not because I'm just a Mizzou fan and constantly preying on their downfall. But there's something going on with Peterson right now, and I just don't see it. I really don't with this team. I just don't think that to be honest with you, I don't think they're going to get past Cal Bap, because Cal Bap, I know, Jacob, you and I have been watching all the Cal Bap games this year, but for the average fan who hasn't, obviously, I'm kidding. For the average fan, there's a gentleman named Dominique Daniels Jr. that plays for that team, and he averages about 23.2 a game. And this guy, he's a lefty, and he's a little guard, and I see him being a nightmare. I mean, dude, this Cal Bap team plays together, and this guy is unbelievable, and I don't really see an answer for him. And I think there's just too many question marks around that program. So I think that's definitely one of them. I would say the bigger schools, Michigan and Florida. I just don't think those two teams, with the guards that they have, are going to get through and win the tournament. Now, I think the bracket could break in a way for those two teams where they bully their way to the Final Four. But if either of those teams play the Houstons, the Dukes, or the Arizonas, it's a wrap, in my opinion. And I don't. So that's in terms of the big, like the number one seeds. But other teams that I think are overrated, like I think Nebraska's overrated. I think a team like Troy could come in and beat them. Like they've got a guy who, can beat them from different areas on the floor. He's a big man. His name's Thomas Dowd. He averages like 15, 16 a game, 10 boards, but he can just like take you in, take you out. Nebraska lives and dies by the three. So like the path to success for them is clear, but it's like, I don't know if they can execute it, because this Troy team is pretty good. And they haven't played in 10 days, which is either going to work for them or against them. 10 days by the time they actually play this game. So I think it's going to be good, because this Troy team is battling a variety of injuries, and it looks like they're going to get all those guys back. So I think Nebraska is one that could absolutely be in for an early exit. And then my last one here, St. John's, I think is in a worst case scenario here with Northern Illinois. Number one scoring defense in the country, number one in terms of points allowed, points per game allowed in the country. They like to, like St. John's, they get a lot of pressure, they get up in you, but like they also operate a lot of stuff in the half court. This Northern Iowa team is going to try to limit these possessions and just grind and grind and grind. And St. John's, time after time, they get stuck in the mud offensively, and they can't get anything going. And I think we've all seen that this season. It's all gravy when they're at the Madison Square Garden and the music's playing and they're getting into it, and you get shipped out and you're at a neutral site and things start not going your way, things get tight, and these young guys, they could get stuck in the mud again. So I think St. John's is a team that I don't see it in terms of them making a big run in this tournament.
Yeah, man. I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick. See, this is my issue with the East region here. It's that the focus are these big names and these big Hall of Fame coaches and stuff. I'm like, guys, they're not jumping on the court. Like, I get it. Like, they got an identity. There's going to be cohesion. They're going to have great late game adjustments and all that stuff. But at the same time, you got to have the talent. Like, what are we talking about? Like, St. John, I swear to God right now. Drew, if you were on that St. John's team, you would have been the third option immediately. Just walking on the court, you'd be at least the third option. Bro,
don't let me get hot. Don't let me get hot. That's for sure.
Their offense is miserable. And I actually agree is that, it's funny because there's two frauds that are potentially going to run into each other, which is St. John and Kansas. And everyone's thinking that's like game of the year quality because of the coaching names. But I'm like, if you watch both of these teams all year, like, I think the only team that would add to your list, actually, there'd be two teams. One is North Carolina. Now, again, if you've ever watched college basketball, I don't think anyone has North Carolina on the board right now. I'm just trying to help the casual fans here with this. Their star players out for the year, Caleb Wilson. So it really is curtains for them. I personally don't even see them. I've seen them being one and done, to be real with you. I think they're just happy to be here at this point. They're just a big brand. I think it's just a gimme that people are gonna pick it because of the nice colors and the cool jerseys, which the jerseys are kind of nice. I will say that, but they're not going anywhere, and they know that, to be real. And then my other team, this is really out of hate because I'm a very hateful person with a lot of these teams and what they've done over the years, bro. I'm definitely throwing Purdue into that. I am sick of Purdue. Purdue is the same team every single year. They've only proved me wrong one year. There was only 1 year they proved me wrong and made it to the national championship that I remember. People are going to pull up 10 years ago and bullshit like that. Y'all got it. I'm not doing that. But this team is what it is, man. Like, you're not going to get that much production from the three with this team. They do have a great guard. I do like Braden Smith. But he doesn't come off as a guy that's like, hey, we need a bucket. Save us. He just has not been giving me that vibe. And there's plenty of times with this Purdue team. I mean, everyone's really high on them because they just won the Big Ten. But I honestly think they're overseeded, to be real with you. Their defense is okay. I don't think their defense is as good as what people think it is. Their offense production, it's Purdue, man. I'd be hard pressed to see them ever score 90 points in the game. It's Purdue. So I think that's another team. Like, I think they would be lucky to make it to the second weekend, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they've got an interesting bracket here because I think that I do generally agree with you, but I think the bracket does, work in a way where I can see them getting to the Elite Eight and then just getting crushed by Arizona. But to your point, man, like going back to that national championship game, the thing that's like burned in my brain from that game is Stephon Castle putting the absolute clamps down on Braden Smith. Just like an actual professional out there. I mean, he was a grown man as a freshman, 6'7" point guard, just locking that up.
Yep.
And I mean, he locked in. And I think if Braden Smith, he's great. Like if he can get to his spots, he's great. And he's really good at getting to his spots. He's kind of like Chris Paul almost in that sense. Kind of has a similar shooting form too. But Clough isn't what they thought he was going to be. Kaufman-Wren's solid. Fletcher Lawyer, the two guards, like they'll go down as one of the better teams but it is the same team. I mean, even if you go back to like 10 years ago, the Swanigan, Haas, Carson Edward, those teams were all really, really good. I think better. Some of those teams were actually better, but no, I mean, I saw Purdue the last couple of years at the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, and their fans really want it, man. They really do. Like those guys, they're desperate for it. But I agree with you, man. I don't think it's coming, and I think they can. Mizzou could make it interesting, but ultimately, like I said, the bracket breaks in a way where I think they could slide up and win a few for sure.
Yeah, and we've been flirting with the bracket, so I think it's time we finally bring it out.